Hi beautiful beings, my name is Brittany.
And I'm Bridgette.
And today we're going to be talking about sex.
Sex is a fun topic.
It's so fun to talk about.
I know.
It's so fun to do. And people love hearing about sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonder what, I mean, I feel like we get a lot of questions about our sex life, so.
This is true.
We're just going to address the common ones, I think. And whatever else wants to come through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What questions have we gotten lately?
Okay, questions about sex. Yeah, I think a common one is like, how often do you have sex? What is your sex like? How often do you have sex? What's your sex life like? Is there somebody who's more of like the dominant one or the submissive one? Like, what are your sexual dynamics like? Has that changed over time? What do you consider sex, like being to females?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
Do you have sex with other people?
Great.
This kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Let's start. How often do we have sex?
We have sex approximately.
Brittany tracks it. She
I
does
do.
it on her chart.
I know, I track my cycle and I track my sex play, yeah. Yeah, so I have a circle for just me. Me with me.
Yeah.
And then us together. Yeah, so we generally have sex like every 3 to 4 days. So in a given week. Twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week or 4 times a week, and once in a while. Actually, it's been a really long time since it's just been once a week, but we've gone through periods. Yeah.
We're also opposites with our cycles, and so where one of us will be ovulating, the other one will be bleeding, where I think you tend to want to have sex all the time, when you're bleeding, and I feel a little more sensitive.
Yeah, you're saying like at all points in my cycle, I really want to have sex.
Yep, where I think that I feel like I want to have sex a lot more when I'm ovulating and a lot less when I'm bleeding. I don't feel like that's a rhythm for you.
No.
No,
for me, when I'm ovulating, it's like people who wouldn't look attractive to me look attractive, and like I'll have fantasies about just like having sex with a lot of people. It's not necessarily like I want to make that a reality. Like I've gone through periods in my life where I've also like played with that, but it's more a feeling. It's like a primal feeling where when I'm in my fertile phase, it's just my attunement to like my primal sexual urges are just a lot higher. Yeah. Yeah. I always love it when you're ovulating. Like I'll notice, because it'll be like, oh wow, like Bridgette's initiating sex, like, and we just had sex yesterday or something like that. I'll be like, oh good, it's a great time. Yeah.
So
and also yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and also this has shifted throughout our relationship. Like I feel like we've been sitting at this spot for a while. We've been together like 5.5 years, but when we started our relationship, we just had sex like all day, every day. We hung out, just for hours and hours and hours on end.
Yeah, which I think is like typical in the honeymoon phase. We want to connect more, and also we've maintained. So maybe for some people it could feel like having sex 2 to 3 times a week is a lot,
right?
And I think it's been really powerful for us to maintain connection with that.
For sure.
I think that's helped us feel really close and connected to each other by prioritizing that, and prioritizing it while we've been raising a child,
right? Which I think is different for a lot of people. And I want to say too, I think like sexual attraction and connection for me is like one of our main, I guess we have a lot of main points of connection, but for me it's really high. Yeah,
we feel really attracted to each other on so many levels, so it feels like I'm in attraction and in love and wanting to connect and wanting to make love with you most of the time. And actually, I would probably want to make love, if I'm being honest, almost every day it comes up for me. But the thing that can get in the way is like timing.
Right. Totally. Yeah, when we went away on this trip, we had sex like 3 times one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, Bridget, let's go on trips more often. She's like, well, when I feel spacious and have like plenty of time.
Yeah, like there's nothing to do.
There's nothing to do.
I mean, not like, but like when I don't have like appointments and sessions and, you know, then we're like winding down with Ilya and then I'm like tired by the end of it. It's a different feeling.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think one thing that has helped us maintain connection with having sex multiple times a week is sometimes we schedule it. Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. Totally. I mean, we'll talk about it, or like we'll talk about the day and we'll be like, yeah, we're gonna like go do movement, come back home, make love and have dinner, and like just talking about it and having that touchstone and knowing. And it's fun to be spontaneous, and also I think especially when you have a kid, and I've heard a lot of people who say this, like it's nice to kind of like make a point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I wanted to make that point is, you know, we have been in connection since we've had a kid the entire time we've been in connection, and we're a lot of the time maybe we do, I'd say 50-50, right? We do have more like spontaneous sex, and then what has helped us maintain the consistency is having it kind of scheduled.
For sure. Yeah.
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 So that's how
often. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Our roles.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
I mean, the way I would name it, and I'd love to hear how you would name it. The way I would name it is like, by and large, if I look at like the big, like our relationship on a whole, is like we're both pretty fluid,
mm-hmm.
and like it's pretty balanced, and it might like oscillate depending on where one of us is at in our cycles, if we're feeling more gentle that day, or if we're feeling more dominant that day, or I don't know. It could be so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like there's like a way we have sex, or like a role that we each play in our sex life.
No, it feels very fluid and always changing, and we have our rhythms that we like, but it feels like, when we're in the act, it's very, very fluid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And I love that. Yeah.
Me too.
And that I think lately we've been playing more with like kind of some polarity dynamics and like being more, and to term it like the masculine or the feminine. And so there has been like where I've been asking maybe for you to like show up like when I want Brittany to, when I'm feeling more feminine and vulnerable or softer, I've really been using my voice around saying what I want, right? Just saying that like I want to be, what's the word I'm looking for?
I mean, sometimes the way it comes to mind for me, it's not the best word, is like penetrated or like taken. Like you want to be like cared for. Like you want me to like initiate and make it happen and like take care of it.
Yep. Yeah. Just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's nice to just feel like it can just be taken care of.
Yeah.
And also we sometimes we'll just show up in that way with each other too.
Yeah.
So, but it's been fun to just like name more of what I want there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been helpful for me because I've noticed, this is just an aside, but when the times where Bridgette has shared that aren't times that I would have thought that is what she wanted. It's like, oh, Bridgette's feeling soft and gentle today, and like I can give her space, or I can give her a foot massage, or like, you know, and she just like wants me to like take care of it. She wants me to make it happen and take care of it, and I feel like, yeah, so it's helpful to tell your partner how you feel and what you want, because they might be thinking the opposite.
Yeah, it's been really powerful for us, I think, to just like use our voices more around that.
Yeah, it's almost like I thought I was taking care of you by like not making sex like a part of your space on those days.
I think this is a cool topic too. Maybe we'll do another video on it, but like I think when we've been in partnership for a while, where we can just feel like, oh, we know the other person, we know the rhythms, we know what the person needs, but
we don't, and we change.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, another question. Do we have sex with other people? Because we have an open dynamic, like we're open to supporting each other in our heart's desires, and in our heart's desires. And by and large, we really don't. No, it's not really happening. Like it's on the table and it has happened, but it's not like it's not a thing that's like, oh yeah, it's Friday and I'm going out for my other date, sex date. No, not happening right now. What other questions did I name?
There was one, sex. What do we consider sex?
Oh, this is a fun.
Since we're two females, I'm assuming.
I mean, we have the female parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always been a fun one because I've had sex with female parts my entire life, and so I've heard that, like, I've never really thought about, oh, like, what does that mean? Because it's just been, that's what I do. That's just, so it's always fun to reflect on, like, what, maybe from
the whole world's
point of view. What does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I think at some point I started distinguishing things just as like sex play. Because I noticed for me, like, P and V penetration didn't feel like the ultimate sex, or it didn't even feel like, sometimes I would be really turned on and engage in sex play and it wouldn't have any of that, whether it just be like the person I was connecting with didn't have a penis, or like that just wasn't a part of our exchange, and I felt like we had like an intimate sexual connection.
Yeah.
So I think on some level it's personal, like what you define as sex.
Because some people find like going down on someone more
oral
intimate
sex for sure
than P and V.
Right. And then maybe for some people who don't have P in their sex, they consider any sort of penetration sex. Like either if that's with like a hand or a toy or using their face. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I don't really have,
I feel like it's all, yeah, like maybe sex play feels like a fun term, because I feel like every time we connect, I feel like we're having
sex play.
Yeah.
Sex play is happening.
And it's always, you know, whether it's like we're using a strap on or we're just doing, I don't feel like we ever just do one thing. There's a lot happening.
Multiple things unfolding.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had sex with our clothes on.
Right.
That's been some of our hottest sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's feeling really turned on, grinding into each other.
I know.
It's always fun. Feels like you're like a teenager.
Yeah. Which is the best. Yeah, so I don't think I can answer that question. Sex play.
I think we did answer the question.
Yeah, but it's not like this is what it
is. Yeah, it just feels like.
Did you feel like you had sex? Did it feel like you had sex with you?
Feel intimate and deep and.
Yeah, but for example, like if you were sharing sexual space with somebody else, I'd be curious to like hear the details, because it would. Yeah, like if you shared that space with someone else, I would be like curious, like, oh, like, did you do this or did you do that? You know, it's not just like, did you guys have sex? It's like that could mean so many different things.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll get more specific.
Yeah, totally. Great.
Yeah, but I feel like we always have, most of the time, have penetration
of some sort.
Mostly in our connection.
And pretty much always, like, there are orgasms on both sides. There are orgasms on both sides, which
Brittany.
Okay, well, this is a whole other topic we could talk about in this video. I love to have orgasms.
Lots of them.
Yes.
Sometimes 10.
That does happen. But pretty much every time we have sex, we both have an orgasm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Totally.
But it's not like it doesn't happen.
It doesn't have to.
It's just great.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that way
to
be sex or to be satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Okay, Kitty, what were you gonna say?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great topic.
Those are some things.
These are some things about our sex life. Yeah, could you ask us more questions? We can answer them. I love sex. It's just the best.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. You're just the best sexual partner. So grateful for us. Yeah, this is just like the longest. It's been so long for me having sex with you. We've had sex so many times. It's just wonderful.
The longest.
Well, I was gonna say it's gonna be the longest I've ever had sex with someone, but I don't think that's completely true.
Like the most frequently you've maintained like attraction and
and
connection.
Connor and I had a similar, like there were similar themes, but we shared a lot of connection with other people.
It kept feeling like.
I felt like so for me, since we don't like generally share sexual intimacy with other people, it feels like really cool to have maintained such a strong sexual connection, because in my previous partnerships, which were monogamous, I didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find like, yes, we had a lot more sex when we first got together, but I feel like now I feel so much more turned on
Oh, that's cool.
by our sexual connection and like the depth there and the intimacy we share and like the trust and the safety, and yeah, like our sex feels way better to me now
That's really cool.
than it did then, and I find myself like more attracted to you
Yeah.
the longer we're together. It's not like I'm bored.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, maybe that could come up where like for people who have been together for a long time is like they just feel like
It's the same.
the same, or yeah, but I feel like you and I are very sexual beings.
Yeah.
And so it just feels like we like being in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like turned on by your turn on, and like,
Yeah.
then I don't know, it just feels
That's cool.
yeah, totally. So I just feel like, and like the longer we're together, and I don't know, it just feels great for me. Like our connection feels really great for me.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, I'm so turned on by your growth and my growth, and it feels like there is a newness here because we're always becoming more.
Yeah.
And I do think that can get stale in partnerships where maybe people feel stifled or aren't expressing themselves in their life or in their relationship.
Yeah.
We get the opportunity to be like returned on by each other all the time because we're constantly evolving.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I do think having a degree of intimacy that we share with other people is really helpful. Like,
because we share a lot of intimacy, like maybe the world was viewing us and our connections with our friends might look like we're sharing a lot of intimacy, because I think we do share more intimacy with our friends, and maybe this shows up for us a lot at like dance. Ecstatic dance and just like movement and rolling around on the floor with people and cuddling, and yeah, we have a lot of like touch and connection in our life.
Yeah, and like a lot of eye gazing and like sincerity and like
love.
Yeah.
Just, like, feeling a lot of love for the beings in our life, and even like our clients and the coaching work we do.
Totally.
Right? Like we
Super
share
intimate.
so much of ourselves in that space, and our clients share so much of ourselves in that space. So we have a lot of intimate, every connection we have in our life
That's
is very,
really
very intimate.
Yeah, and I think sometimes back to like when I first started exploring open relationships, and I think where I ended up with like was with the intimacy. That's what I hung on to. And almost like the pathways I first started initiating intimacy through were more sexual. And it was like those were the commonly portrayed pathways that I learned growing up, but actually it turns out there's so much intimacy that's not sexual that just feels super enriching and important to me in connections. And I think having all of that, it's made my desire, like I don't really have a desire to share sexual connection with other people.
This is cool because when in the beginning of our relationship, I remember this would come up for us as like you would share sexual space with other people, and I was sharing maybe more emotional intimacy with other people, and I think that always felt like you would express like you felt like I was sharing a lot of you felt like it was the same. Like
Totally.
Maybe you could reflect on that from your point of view.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put it into
like I felt like we shared the same amount of intimacy with other people.
Right. Like where it was hard for me because I was like, no, Brittany's sharing like sexual connections with other people, and I'm just like,
and I was
this
like,
is how I
the same
relate
thing.
to the world. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
I just have a lot of like intimate connections in my life that I love, and I think now we both maybe have, not that you weren't having that as well, but I think now we just feel so fulfilled in our other connections that we don't necessarily, we're not looking for more intimacy in the world in terms of like sex play.
Totally. Yeah, and it's interesting, like I don't know if that would have turned out this way for me if I hadn't been in partnership with you. Like it's so interesting, there are ways that I am like things that feel true for me now and a part of me that are more like Bridgette, and I imagine maybe vice versa too. And you are inevitably changed by the people you spend a lot of time and energy with. And I love this, and it just feels so like true for me now, and at this phase in my life. And it's fun to think back on those conversations, because I hadn't thought about those in a while. And that felt so true for me then. And now it's like, cool, that doesn't feel true for me right now. Right. And yeah, I imagine I've been impacted by you in so many ways. Yeah, it's fun to think about.
That's fun.
Yeah. All right,
we're rambling on.
It's a great topic.
So many pathways we could vector off into, and yeah, this feels good.
Yeah, so if you do have more questions for us about sex, intimacy, feel free to post down below. And yeah, I love you guys.
Yeah, thanks for being here.